Standard Bank's Business and Commercial Banking Conference has successfully wrapped up in Cape Town. The event centered on strategies and opportunities to drive economic growth across the continent. Our head of news, Bronwyn Seaborn, had the opportunity to catch up with Tunde Macaulay, head of Business and Commercial Banking in Africa and Offshore at the Standard Bank Group, who discussed the highlights and insights from the conference.
My reflection was that it has exceeded my expectations. I think it has exceeded our expectations. The amount of client interactions has been phenomenal. The amount of, and this is Standard Bank's purpose. Africa is our home, we drive our growth. I have seen connections across countries, connections across South Africa and Africa and our offshore locations, connecting clients together. And that's why I said it has really exceeded, my expectations. Not just that, the relationship managers that have come to support clients have also connected, sharing ideas of how to support clients better in our jurisdictions. So I think it's been a fabulous conference, and we thank all our clients and thank all the participants who've joined us today, and of course, thanks to the press as well, who've joined us to cover the function. So thank you.
A lot was under discussion, as you highlighted. There were also a lot of discussions in the hallways between entrepreneurs, between businesses, and then there was a whole lot of sessions around various topics. We had African giants discussing, key business takeaways from their experience. We've had discussions around Africa's energy solutions. For you, what were the highlights?
Look, so many highlights. But let me take from one or two of the sessions. The family-owned businesses really touched me because these are giants talking about the future of their businesses. How does this transcend me as a person, given that the children may not be interested in the business? And this helps us to think that Standard Bank Business and Commercial Banking, we're on the right strategy in terms of our offshore services to help sustain generational businesses over time. So that's one that touched me. The other piece is around trade, such an important topic. And the work that we are doing with the African Continental Free Trade Area and the Secretariat is really important to driving Africa's trade. And Standard Bank is well positioned to try and get this done. And how do we work with government partners to unlock the opportunities for trade in Africa? That's one piece that, one point of my reflection. The other point of reflection is around growing together in a fragmented world. And just the protectionist tendency of the world these days. And the question was asked on one of the panels by one of the clients, saying that, NATO, BRICS, and the different blocks, who would Africa lean to? And the response, which I support, is that, look, Africa cannot stick to any block. Africa has to do business with all blocks to grow its business and so on and so forth. So the challenge is that the protectionist and the fragmentation of the world today limits flow of capital, brings in trade barriers, trade tariffs. I was saying on the panel yesterday that there are 3,000 new tariffs that have been introduced between 2019 and to date, creating trade barriers. And this has impact on Africa. Russia-Ukraine war, sometimes you think it has no impact. But when you start talking about cost of feed into Africa, cost of wheat, which is a production raw material into other foods in the market, it has impact. So these are the key highlights, from some of the things that have come out. But it's been really good,
So rich discussion, a lot of key points that you can go away from and ponder on, and that leading to the idea that the conversation needs to continue. So how do you, as Standard Bank, ensure that it does?
So one of the things that has already come out, I'll give two examples. There was a client who is in the shipping industry, another client who builds ships. Right in front of me, the connection happened, and they've already agreed to speak next week. So that's a practical example. Another client who owns a family business, who was thinking about IPOing his business, is now thinking about setting up a trust and putting in some structures in one of our offshore locations with another management company who banks with us in South Africa. Again, the conversations continue next week. That's another second practical example on how this happens. And so that's one of the things that we're going to do going forward, ensuring that the client interactions happen, the ones that the relationship managers have documented, ensure that they happen, and then we also follow up on, with clients and around the business opportunities and some of the connections. Some of them want to go into new markets, and then we as Standard Bank would help them go into new markets. So that's how we're going to ensure that it's not just, I think I've demonstrated that it wasn't just a talk shop, and that there's real action happening between clients and Standard Bank fulfilling its purpose of opening up its markets to engender Africa's growth.
Given that success then, this was the inaugural conference. It's the first time that you are hosting an event like this. Can we look forward to it becoming an annual event then?
So the first thing we want to try and do is, as Bill, who is the chief executive, and his leadership team, Stratco, is to review this conference, review its successes, review with every program, there's always areas of improvement, review where we need to improve, and then consider what the next steps are. But one thing I'm sure of is that it won't be the last. It's something that we intend to hold, whether it's every year or whether it's every 2 years, I don't know yet. But it's not going to be the first and last conference. But we need to go back as a leadership team led by Bill, the chief executive, for us to review how we take it forward.
That was Tunde Macaulay from Standard Bank.